Florence Scovel Shinn, The Power of the Spoken Word, Chapter 8, Fearlessness. Why are ye faithful, O ye of little faith? All through the Bible, man is told not to be afraid. Fear is man's only enemy. It is faith turned inside out. Jesus Christ said, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? If you can only believe, all things are possible." Linked with God's power, man is invincible. The story of Jehoshaphat is the story of the individual. So often he seems outnumbered by adverse appearances, but he hears the same voice of the infinite saying, "Be not afraid or dismayed by reason of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours but God's." Jehoshaphat and his army were even told they would not need to fight the battle. "Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord. For the battle was God's, not theirs." Jehoshaphat appointed singers unto the Lord to praise the beauty of holiness as they went out before the army, saying, "Praise the Lord, for his mercy endureth forever." When they came toward the watchtower in the wilderness, they looked toward the multitude, and behold, they were dead. The enemy had destroyed itself. There was nothing to fight. The Bible is talking about states of consciousness. Your enemies are your doubts and fears, your criticisms and your resentments. Every negative thought is an enemy. You may be outnumbered by adverse appearances, but be not afraid or dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours but God's. As we follow closely to the story of Jehoshaphat, we see he advanced, making an affirmation, "Praise the Lord, his mercy endureth forever." He had nothing to say about the enemy or his own lack of strength. He was giving the Lord his full attention, and when he commenced to sing and praise, the Lord placed ambushments against his enemies, and they were smitten. When you make your statements of truth, your enemy thoughts are vanquished, dissolved, and dissipated. Therefore, all adverse appearances disappear. When Jehoshaphat and his army came toward the watchtower in the wilderness, they looked into the multitude, and behold, they were dead. The watchtower in the wilderness is your high state of consciousness, your fearless faith, your place of safety. There you rise above all adverse conditions, and God's battle is won. When Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away the spoils of the enemy, they found among them both riches and precious jewels, more than they could carry away, and they were 3 days in gathering of the spoil. It was so much. That means when you let God fight the battle for you, great blessings come out of every adverse situation. For thy God will turn the curse into a blessing. For the Lord thy God loveth thee. The ingenuity of the Spirit is amazing. It is pure intelligence and brooks no interference with its plans. It is very difficult for the average person to stand still, which means keep your poise and let infinite intelligence run the situation. People like to rush into battle and try to manage things themselves, which brings defeat and failure. Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord with you. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. That means not to run away from the situation. Walk up fearlessly and face the lion on your pathway, and the lion turns into an Airedale. The lion takes its fierceness from your fear. A great poet has said, courage has genius, magic, and power in it. Daniel was unafraid, and the lions' mouths were closed. King Darius called to Daniel while he was yet in the lion's den, asking him if God could save him from the lions, and Daniel answered, "O King, live forever. My God had sent his angels and shut the lions' mouths that they have not hurt me." We have in this story the subdued attitude of the lions as a result of spiritual power. The entire group changed from ferocity to docility, and Daniel, looking away from the beast to the light and might of spirit, which saved him completely from the lions. Scarcely a day passes without some sort of lion appearing on man's pathway. The lions of lack, limitation, fear, injustice, dread, or forebodings. Immediately walk up to the situation of which you are afraid. If you run away from it, it will always be right at your heels. Many people lose the things they prize or love because they continually fearing their loss. They do everything possible on the external to ensure protection. But back of it all is the devastating picture of fear. In order to hold the things you prize and love, you must know that they are divinely protected. Therefore, nothing can harm them. I give the example of a woman who was very fond of a man who was good looking and popular with women. She decided to prevent his meeting one particular woman of her acquaintance because she was sure the woman would make every effort to cut her out, to use a slang expression. One evening, she went to a theater, and there he was with the woman. They had met at the card party. Her fears had actually attracted the situation. I knew a woman who had 7 children. She knew they were all divinely protected and they all grew up safe and sound. One day, a neighbor rushed in and said, "You had better call your children. They are all climbing up and down trees. They are going to kill themselves." My friend replied, "Oh, they're only playing tree tag. Don't look at them and nothing will happen." Like Daniel, she turned her back to the situation and let God take care of it. The average person is a resenter, a resistor, or a regretter. They resent people they know and people they don't know. They resist everything from daylight saving up. They regret what they did or what they didn't do. It is very wearing to be with these people. They exhaust all their friends. It is because they are not living in the wonderful now and are losing all the tricks in the game of life. It is heaven to be unafraid and to live fully in the now. That is, to be fearless in using what we have, knowing back of us is the abundance of the spheres to draw upon. We know that fearless faith and the spoken word release this supply. The power of the word was known in Egypt thousands of years ago. We read in the Bible, "Behold, I make all things new." By our words of truth, we can make new our minds, bodies, and affairs. When all fear is obliterated, we live magic lives. Like Jehoshaphat, we go forward fearlessly singing, "Praise the Lord. His mercy endureth forever." In our watchtower of high consciousness, we stand still and we see the salvation of the Lord. Christianity is founded on faith. Faith gives one a sublime assurance of one's good. One may be surrounded by adverse appearances, but this sublime assurance impresses the subconscious mind, and a way opens up for the manifestation of health, wealth, and happiness. There is an endless invisible supply for every man. Before we called, we were answered. The supply is waiting to be released by faith and the spoken word. We find that Jesus Christ taught an exact science. At the World's Fair, there was a panorama of New York City in the Edison building. At dusk, when the city was being lighted up, the buildings showed a myriad of lights. The man explaining the exhibit said, "The city is lit by the power of electricity at the turn of a switch, the turn of a hand." Edison was the man who had faith in the laws of electricity. He knew what could be done with electricity if it were harnessed and directed. It seemed to have intelligence of its own. He created a dynamo through which it would work after years of patience and loving absorption in his work. Now this power lights the world, for it is harnessed and directed. Jesus Christ taught man to harness and direct thought. He knew that fear was as dangerous as uncontrolled electrical forces. Words and thoughts must be handled with wisdom and understanding. The imagination is man's workshop, and an imagination running wild and building up fear pictures is just about as safe as riding a bunking bronco. We were born and brought up in an age of doubt and fear. We were told that the age of miracles was over and to expect the worst. An optimistic person was laughed at. A bright remark was, "A pessimist is a person who lives with an optimist." "Eat the speckled apples first" was taught the height of wisdom. They did not seem to realize that by following this advice they would never catch up with good apples, for they would be speckled too by the time they were rich. What a beautiful work this would be if all anxiety and fear were blotted out. These twins, anxiety and worry, have made men slaves and are destroyers of health, wealth, and happiness. There is only one way of getting rid of fear, and that is to transmute it into faith, for fear is the opposite of faith. "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" These words ring down through the centuries. Jesus Christ taught that the Father within man could be absolutely trusted to guide, protect, and provide when man believes it possible. Jesus Christ demonstrated this God power over and over again in order to convince his followers. Out of the invisible supply he brought the loaves and fishes. He raised the dead and took money from the fish's mouth. He told them, "Greater things shall ye do, for I am going." We know he was teaching an exact science, the science of mind, the power of thought, and the power of the word. We must have faith, for faith registers the idea in the subconscious mind. When an idea is once registered in the subconscious, it must objectify. That is the reason Jesus Christ told people that if they believed, which is having faith, all things were possible. How are we to get rid of this anxiety, which we might call anti-faith? The only way to neutralize it is to walk up to the thing you are afraid of. There was a man who had lost all his money. He was living in very poor quarters, and all the people around him were poor, and he was afraid to spend the little he had. All he had was about $5. He had tried to get work, but everyone had turned him down. He woke one morning to face another day of lack and disappointment. When the idea or hunch came to him to go to the horse show, it took about all he had, but he was fired up with the idea of being with rich and successful people again. He was tired of his limited surroundings. He fearlessly spent the money for a ticket to the horse show. There, he met an old friend who said, "Hello Jim, where have you been all this time?" Before the show was over, the old friend gave him a wonderful position in his firm. His hunch and fearless attitude toward money had put him in a new vibration of success. Form the habit of making giant swings into faith. You will receive marvelous returns. As has already been noted, we looked with amazement at the people in the circus performing their remarkable feats. These people have faith that they can perform these acts and see themselves doing them. You cannot accomplish anything you cannot see yourself accomplishing. These difficult feats are all a matter of poise and balance. Your success and happiness depend upon your poise and balance. Trusting God is like walking a slack wire. Doubt and fear cause you to lose your balance and fall off into lack and limitation. Like the circus performer, it takes practice. No matter how many times you fail, try it again. Soon you will acquire the bit of poise and balance. Then the world is yours. You will walk joyfully into your kingdom. The circus performers all seem to love their work, no matter how difficult. The band plays, the people applaud, and they smile. But remember, they were trained without the music and applause. Rhythm, harmony, and balance are key to the success of happiness. When you are out of rhythm, you are out of light. In the 4th chapter of Philippians, we read, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto God. This is certainly a wonderful arrangement, all in favor of man. Man free from worry and fear asks with thanksgiving, and his God is given unto him." End of this chapter. So, that's a pretty good chapter that talks at length about fear. And in the words of Jim Carrey, fear will play a role in our lives, and is definitely something that resonates with me and probably with all of you. Why? Even in this chapter, Florence Scovel Shinn said that even at her time, which was pretty much 40, 50, maybe 60, 70 years ago, fear was already a thing. And I think fear has always been a component in this world, but it is safe to say that fear has been exacerbated, exaggerated, increased in the modern world we live in, simply because we have the technology to do so. And because our minds will be more susceptible to fear first and foremost. It's like we are trained, our minds, our brains are trained to see fear first, for good reasons, because fear can prevent a lot of bad things from happening to us. And fear is not necessarily a good word for what I just said, because I remember monks saying it's not so much that we fear behaving recklessly, for example. We fear the road because we know we can have accidents. We fear getting into a fight with a tiger, whatever the case might be. We fear certain logical things. But let's replace the word fear with respect. We respect the road, and we respect wild animals, and we respect certain places because of their dangers. What I mean by that is, like, we would not necessarily go at a certain place at a certain time because we know for a fact that danger must be there. And because of this data, because of this information, we can make a more educated decision. We would fear a tiger, that's why we would not get into a cage with it. We fear failing and losing money, that's why we will not put an enormous risk in a certain venture. It's not that we are risk averse, we just take an educated guess and we don't risk everything. We don't put all our eggs in the same basket because we know that it's risky and that we could lose all. It's just being pragmatic. So we respect certain information, certain data that we have. But the fear that all those great authors and myself are talking about is the fear of things that, generally speaking, we should not respect. What I mean by that, we fear being ourselves. We fear doing the things we want to be. We fear listening to our intuition. We doubt ourselves. We doubt our vision. And that's what we should not respect. We should not respect this fear of being who our higher self is telling us to be. And it is an exercise. It is a practice, it is a discipline that might come quite hard for a lot of us, myself included. Because fear will make us question ourselves at every turn, regardless of what we do. Did we do the right action? Did we do the right move? Did we say the right thing? Did we hang out with the right people, etc., etc.? And that's why it is important to cultivate a vision. Regardless of what this vision is for you now, the vision should be something you aim for that is better than your situation right now. Not to say that your situation is bad. We should always strive to look for things to be grateful for, and there's always things to be grateful for. At the same time, we should be looking for growth, which is the vision. Because the gratitude part is very important, because when we are grateful, we cannot be in fear at the same time. But back to the vision. Vision is important to sustain through faith. Because if we have a vision but we do not sustain it through faith, our vision will be scattered and will be based on what we see. So if our vision is to be a business owner, or to be with a certain person, or to achieve a certain level of skill in a particular domain, and because we are always beset by certain setbacks, because that's just life, if we do not have the faith coupled with the vision, we will give up. If you just have the vision without the faith, it is completely useless, because you will give up and you will lose faith altogether. That's why faith is perseverance and perseverance is faith. That's a quote by Earl Nightingale. For a long time I was wondering, what is that business of faith? What does it mean to have faith? And when I stumbled upon this quote, persistence is faith and faith is persistence, it made total sense to me, and I'm very grateful for those words by Earl Nightingale, because that's the way I thought about myself. I thought I was just being perseverant, but this faith, I don't know if I really have it. But that's what he said. That's what Earl Nightingale said. If you did not have faith, you will not persevere. By persevering, it is to have faith. And what I mean by that, even if today you do not believe 100%, tomorrow you try again, and the day after, regardless of how many times you quote-unquote fail or quote-unquote fall, you just dust yourself up and go back at it, regardless of what you do. But I'm talking right now more specifically about faith in your vision, which is all an inside work, because it starts from the inside and we see it outside. So it's all an inside-out job, not the opposite. The outside does not matter that much, because if we take care of the inside, everything will follow suit. Tony Robbins said once that 80% of success is mental work, is psychology, and 20% are the mechanics. I have to say that 100% of it is inside. Maybe 99% is inside and 1% is the mechanics, because if you don't really focus on the inside, it's not to say that you have to just sit and meditate, although you could, more power to you, but everybody's different. And that you should not take actions, but action is almost becomes a blanket term in the law of attraction community, because what it means to have an action, to make an action, because you have mental action, having the discipline to change your thoughts, to replace your negative thoughts and let go of the negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts, is an action. Sitting down is an action. Closing your eyes is an action. So what does it mean to make an action? Right? So I don't think we should bother so much about the action part, because the things we need to do, the things that other people will need to do, the way the world will move is more important. But for that, we need to make sure that the world within is aligned with what we want. So if we are to cultivate the garden of our mind, as would Neville Goddard said, we will cut off the weeds and keep nurturing and growing the seeds that we have planted. That's all we have to do. So our minds is the most important thing to cultivate. I read a quote by quite recently by Florence Scovel Shinn, but it might be someone else. No, William Waddles. I don't remember exactly, but doesn't matter. The quote was, and I'm paraphrasing, that the most laborious thing a man can do is think the thoughts he wants to think regardless of what he sees outside, especially when everything he sees outside is denying the thoughts he has inside. Which in other words mean that if you think I am rich but everything around you is showing you you're poor, and you keep on thinking these thoughts even though everything is showing you the opposite, that's the hardest thing to do. And bear in mind, it's not something you need to do, you have to do only once. You have to do continually and sustain it over time. But for that, you cannot let fear, doubt, anxiety, worry, and any type of negative thoughts and emotion stop you from having the faith. Yes, if you have fear, let it come up, let it go, and surrender it. This is a subject for another day. You don't fight your negative thoughts, you don't fight your fearful emotions, you don't fight all these negative, unwholesome emotions. You let them come up and you just laugh at them almost. You offer them kindness. You don't react to them. And what I mean by reacting is like, what happens when you have a negative thought? Let's say you were thinking right now, oh, I'm so rich, I'm so happy, I'm surrounded with love, with friendship, with great opportunities, blah, 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 etc. You're visualizing, you're narrating your life as it should be, as you want it to be. In your vision, in your mind, whatever. And you're feeling good, and all of a sudden, some trigger push you to have this one negative emotion, fear. And this fear comes in your stomach. It manifests itself in your stomach. This ball in the pit of your stomach, and you start thinking, oh my God, what if it doesn't happen? What if everything I just envisioned doesn't happen? That's the moment that you should not react. You should not react like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Don't react. If you have this, just place your awareness on it and let it be. You don't need to think the thoughts, so you don't need to think, what if something happened? What if those things don't happen? Replace those thoughts with positive thoughts. And well, I'm going to digress a bit. I'm going to give you a few tips. When you have those negative emotions that are overwhelming, and if you're not familiar with meditation, I would suggest you get into meditation. But if you're not familiar with meditation, you can just use a few mantra, relax your body, stay still, close your eyes if you want to, lie down, whatever the case may be, and tell yourself simple things like it's okay. That's what Abraham Hicks called the better feeling thought. Find better thought. If you were envisioning being rich and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm so poor, it will never happen, I'll always be broke, it's hard for you to tell yourself, I'm rich, even though you are feeling so overwhelmed by this strong emotion, which will be, in this instance, particularly counterproductive. Instead of saying, I'm rich, you can just tell her, everything is okay. Everything is okay. You deal with your situation and you soothe yourself. And once this resistance, this fearful emotion, this overwhelming emotion, feeling leaves, then once you are at a more neutral, calm, confident, positive state of mind, you can reaffirm, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, blah, blah, blah. But don't do it when you are at the peak of negative emotions and thoughts. You know what I mean? You just let go of this as much as possible. You let it be. You forego all the thoughts that come along, and you place your awareness on the emotion. Let it be kind to it, laugh at it, offer it kindness, telling yourself it's okay, relax your body, relax your mind, telling yourself everything is okay. And you will see after a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, it will leave. It will be replaced by something else. But the more you react to it, the bigger it will get. So you do not react. And if you react, just calm yourself. Always calm yourself. That's what Florence Scovel Shinn talks about. Having poise and composure. That is such an important, those are such important attributes that we need to cultivate. Always have this poise, this composure, this calm confidence that comes along with having faith. I went a bit too far. I hope this helped. I am Sebastian. I am your manifestation coach. If you want more information about me, check the link in the description box below. Thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you very soon.